Hello, say hello to the audience. Hello. Hello, audience. Hello.
So, let's talk about genre. One genre in particular, which is literary fiction. I absolutely hate the classification literary fiction in terms of genre. And here's why. First of all, it is a completely arbitrary classification. There are no defining characteristics that designate something as literary fiction, as opposed to mystery or science fiction or romance or fantasy, where there are parameters that guide the genre and designate certain books as within the genre or without the genre. But that's not true for literary fiction. There is no determining criteria that definitively makes something literary fiction or not. So that means it really comes down to what someone considers literary, which is entirely subjective. And this subjectivity that designates literariness breeds an air of pretension in the world of literature and the world of books. And when I say literature, I just mean text in general. This pretension that comes with the title of literary fiction is inherently exclusive because using arbitrary determiners, it decides which kinds of texts are in the literary in-group and which are not. And also, literary fiction is not just any fiction that is not genre fiction, because there are certain general fiction novels that do not fit the category of literary fiction. The second reason why I do not like the term literary fiction when it comes to designating books into genres, and that is the inherent classism in the term literary fiction. This idea that certain books are inherently better or more literary than other books contributes to intellectual classism within the literature world. While it may not seem apparent, there is a certain level of segregation within academia and within the literary world. One such example is the existence of women's fiction as a genre. So why is women's fiction a genre separate from general fiction? Why are stories written by women and about women considered their own separate genre when stories written by men about men are just considered general fiction and more often than not are lumped into the literary fiction classification? Because of the existence of terms like literary fiction and women's fiction when it comes to classifying books, that contributes to a certain level of sexism and intellectual superiority and intellectual classism in the literary world, which is an issue. And also, my biggest issue, well, not really my biggest issue, but a big issue does stem from the fact that the term literary fiction is completely arbitrary. There are no designating factors that define the genre's parameters, as opposed to something like science fiction or mystery or romance, where there are a certain set of guidelines that a book must follow in order to be classified in that genre. Literary fiction is not like that. The designation of what makes something literary is entirely subjective. There are no qualitative or quantitative characteristics that can be used to determine whether something is literary or not. It is entirely subjective. So that is my beef with the term literary fiction as a genre and just its existence in general. It contributes to this insider-outsider world of literature and a literary sphere, making it seem like certain types of writing are more valued than others. And it's all together just more divisive than it needs to be. I think it causes not really a consciously noticeable rift in the book world, but on a subconscious level it is there, and we see it in like reader shame, whereas readers of romance novels or like high fantasy mass market paperback novels, there is a kind of reader shame associated with reading these lowbrow genres that are not considered of literary merit, when actually they are. All books can be considered literary merit because the designation of literary is entirely subjective. The reader is the one who decides what is intrinsically valued as literature or not. There is not a defining set of parameters that can tell you whether something is literary or not. It's all up to the reader. And so that is just my beef with literary fiction. I'm glad I got that off my chest. Thanks.